Zidane Danny, Electro Ninja here, and welcome back to Electro Ninja's Lab. In today's video, we are going to be talking about the Katamari Damacy series. With the recent release of Reroll and my recent getting of the game, I feel like now is the perfect time to actually discuss this series, which meant so much to me as a kid. Now, Katamari Damacy, for all intents and purposes, is a very simple game. There's nothing really intuitive about it. No, the story is self-explanatory, and it's meant for children. Let's just be honest about this. Keep in mind, this isn't. Is this even? No, this was before E10, and even now it's considered E for everyone. Not just it's not even E10 for that matter, which is a bit insane to think about. That these games are just E for everyone. Even Lego, I think at this point, is no longer E for everyone, but is instead E10. So yeah, obviously it's gonna be a simple enough game that even kids can understand. But in actuality, the games are actually, if you sit and think about it for a moment, the games are actually terrifying because you play as this tiny little guy who goes around the world rolling a ball to basically absorb every single thing on the planet into a single ball, condensed and just all that jazz. And it's terrifying, but it is amazing. Oh, it's a lot of fun. I mean, you could just look at the sheer majesty of what happens just on the front of the first game. The other games aren't as terrifying with these aspects, but just seeing that is actually insane. Now, Reroll is not a new addition to the story. That's something that should be clear. Reroll is basically a remaster of the original Katamari Damacy, which is a decent game, but the fact remains that these two kind of suck. Just plain and simple. They're compared to that of the next game, We Love Katamari. There's really no comparison. Both games have three worlds that you go to, and pretty much everything stays within those levels. And basically, all that's going to happen is that is different between these different levels is for each of the different rollings is timing, how big you need to make it, and also sometimes what you need to get. For example, the bear and the cow level, aka the Taurus and the Ursa Major, those two, you need to make sure that you get you need to get as big of a cow or as big of a bear as you can get without picking up any others beforehand, which, needless to say, can be a big challenge. And yeah, it like I said, it can be a challenge, but it's still a decent amount of fun, which is important, but pretty much everything else just progressively gets bigger. You want to you roll up to a certain point, and then okay, now it's time for you to roll up the entire planet to get the moon, or the entire biggest map in order to get the moon. And that's it. That is literally it. Just roll. There's the entire open map. Here we go, and we've got everything. And you can get everything. can be tricky, but at the same time, it's really not that complicated. The game is fairly self-explanatory in a lot of aspects, and that's it. And since I just played and finished Reroll, yeah, it's quick. Basically, you can finish Reroll and the original within maybe a few hours. Because basically all you need to do is just all that. And yeah, sure, there's still the presents to get, and going around the world to try and make sure that you find those missing presents, that can be fun, but still not as much as a lot of as what we have within We Love Katamari. Because unlike the previous game and its reboot, Katamari We Love Katamari is almost a completely different game, adding tons of new levels with practically it feels like every single one of the missions that you get is in a different level. Now, sure, there are some that are within the same area and all of that, but for the most part, yeah, every single thing that is within every single level that you go to is a different location, which what? Now, sure, there are still some that will repeat, such as the campgrounds and the big maps and all of that jazz. And there's absolutely some that are really interesting and all of that jazz. But for the most part, it's new maps each time, which is incredible. But on top of that, you get a whole bunch more to do because of the collecting cousins route. Each level has a cousin, as well as I believe that there is still a present in each of the levels as well. And if you find those two things, it's a really interesting collectathon. And you really want to get these different cousins because each of them look different. Unlike the presents, which basically just adds a little thing that you can choose, having each of the cousins be playable is honestly just a ton of fun. And it's a lot better than what it was in the original Katamari, because, as well as Reroll, because of the fact that with the cousins, all they were really used for in the original was the two-player option, which, let's just be honest, that is not very fun. Basically, the whole goal for the two-player thing is which one of you can get the most items and get your Katamari to be the biggest it can be before time runs out. And that's pretty much it. And sure, you'll run into each other every now and again, but yeah, pretty self-explanatory. It's like I said, it's not that interesting compared to what they do in the other games with the cousins. And finding them actually within the world is rather interesting because each one of them actually does something that is unique to their personality. And it's it's kind of crazy, just everything that's within it. On top of the fact that they add like a whole bunch of cousins into the game that were not within the original Katamari Damacy. So, yeah. On top of and like I said also, there's also the fact that everything that you do within the different levels, each one still feels like it's a different thing. Such as, there's a level where you have to gather up as much wood and keep the ball rolling, gathering as much stuff as possible, and avoiding the water like the plague, or else your fire goes out and then you lose everything. On top of, and then there's the snowball levels where you're rolling around in the snow, and that's honestly just a ton of fun. Not to mention the underwater levels, which I just have to say, seriously, if you haven't played those underwater levels in We Love Katamari, then you're missing out. You really should check that out. And I believe also Maybe not. I was thinking that there might be some actual information on the different cousins within the guidebook or whatever that we have that comes with the original PS2 games, but I don't know. It doesn't look like there is. But that's beside the point. The point still remains that you should at least give these a chance. Sure, like I said, they are short games. They are going to, more than likely, you're going to go through them and you're going to be like, okay, these are a bit boring, they're a bit childish. But honestly, I think that's a fine thing for what they are. These games were meant for children. They were meant for kids to just mess around with and have a little bit of fun. And another factor is that these games were created for the PS2, which, keep in mind, the PS2 was the first game console that had the dual analog sticks. And on every single one of its controllers. The PS1 did have them, but it was very little used, and when it was used, you didn't really use it that much. Some games, absolutely sure, you did use it, but for the most part, you didn't really use the analog sticks. But with the PS2, they wanted to experiment, and they created the Katamari Damacy and We Love Katamari to basically show a lot of the different things that you could do with these. To a certain degree, it's a lot like a lot of the games that we've gotten recently, such as the Astro stuff. That's what Katamari has basically was for the PS2. An experiment to show people what the new system that was added to the PS2 controllers could do. And that was basically the only new feature to the PS2 controllers, to the DualShock, to actually adding those two analog sticks. And keep in mind, this hadn't been done before. Xbox was still a few years down the line. And, I mean, sure, there were games and stuff that had analog sticks, but nothing to the same level, and nothing that was a home system actually had this system in place, which was rather interesting, and they had to figure out, okay, what are we going to do with all of this? Sure, a lot of games chose to simply make the right one be moving the camera, and the left one would be movement. But having games like We Love Katamari and Katamari Damacy and Reroll shows that people were rather intrigued with how this system could work moving forward. And like I said, it's interesting to see what they have accomplished in such a short amount of time. And they did not have much time to actually create the first game. So the fact that it's short, yeah, it's a bit understandable. And while I would absolutely love to see a We Love Katamari reroll and then a actual new game for Katamari Damacy, that would be really awesome, but it's probably not going to happen for a while now. But that's okay. And I think that a lot of fans understand that, yeah, sometimes things are going to be a bit slow to come out, and Katamari has not been in the public eye for a long time. But I'm kind of hoping that with this video, maybe more fans will actually remember the times that they had with these games and give Reroll a try. I mean, currently it's pretty cheap. I mean, I got it for like $17, I think, from GameStop, of all places. So, yeah, it's about as much as what older games cost back in the day. So, yeah, it's not that bad. And if that's the case, then why not give it a try? Just play through a few levels and remember the nostalgia that you had back in the day. And remember how much fun it was to just roll around, gathering up as much shit as you could. And maybe introduce it to your kids. Introduce it to your friends. Introduce it to your family who never played it before. Introduce it to just random people. And just have fun once again. This game isn't meant to be taken seriously, And I think that that is going to be an important aspect moving forward with the Katamari Damacy legacy. But anyways, guys, hopefully you've enjoyed this video. If you have, please make sure to leave a like. Leave your thoughts and theories down in the comments below. If you are going to leave a theory, make sure to say theory review somewhere in your comments so we can talk about it in a future video. And of course, if you guys do want to support the channel even more, then definitely make sure to head down to the description and check out all of our links down there, including our social medias, our other channels, and ways you can support us financially, including the merch store, the book, and the Patreon, which a big thank you to our current patron, Sheeny. But anyways, guys, I have been Electro Ninja, and I will see you guys next time. But on!